Today, with the city election just days away, a couple of days away, I thought it was appropriate to get an up-close look at that process. My guest is the election commissioner, Manny DeBrito.
How you doing, Jim? How are you? Thanks for having me.
All right. You have a tough job around this time of the year. Probably tougher than a lot of people think. People think you roll out the ballot boxes and you go vote, and that, no. It's a lot more than that. You've been on the job for just a few months, really, but you've had some help in the office, as I understand it.
Definitely.
Maria Tomasia has
Maria's been on as a consultant. It's been a pretty steep learning curve. I started August 3rd, right into a preliminary in October, and now the municipal election in November. Quick turnaround time. My office has been great, helping me with the transition. Maria has been around, like you said, and my staff that works in office. I mean, really, hats off to them. You know, they make everything possible.
They do a lot of work dealing with people coming in, not only potential candidates, but people who may be changing addresses or those kinds of things, voting places. You nervous about Tuesday? This is your first municipal election, really, the final.
You know, it's an exciting time. You know, it's I've been calling it my second wedding, really. You know, so a little bit of nerves, you know, a little bit of excitement. You know, my goal coming in has been to have things run as smoothly as possible, and things have been run fairly smoothly, and that, you know, just lends itself to the strength of the office and the procedures and everything Maria and my staff has set up, Debbie and Sherry. It's really made it really easier for me to come in and understand that process and really go through and not have too much trouble implementing the procedures that are there.
Any changes this year in voting locations or
No. There is some construction that was planned to go on at the Buntwood Park Senior Center, the warming house, but I'm not sure if they just completely pushed that back. But we wanted to have everyone, you know, be comfortable. You don't want to change too much prior to election. Everyone's a creature of habit, so and that being one of the most, you know, active polling places, we wanted to make sure that, you know, people could still vote there.
Are there really 50,000 voters in New Bedford?
You know, we do a good job really going through the list and really, you know, taking inactive voters off. We get death certificates. We get updates. I mean, people moving. It's an ongoing process. So we're really looking at that list and trying to find ways on how you make it more accurate. So it's a constant battle every day with scrubbing that list.
And you mean that every day?
Every single day. Yeah. Either we're getting notices from the registry, other, you know, state agencies, or people will come into our office, or we'll get death certificates. Nothing happens unless we're notified. So, you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, track a lot of these things. You know, people that work the polls will say, oh, this person moved years ago, or this person passed away. If we don't get notice of it, you know, we have to verify all that information. So it is a lot of work, and again, my staff does a good job.
Personal opinion, I sometimes think that the list is through no fault of the office, really, because you rely on other people to notify you. But the list is probably inflated because I really think it was a lot of people signed up in 2008, for instance, 2007, 2008, when Barack Obama was running for president first time. And so there are a lot of new voters at that time. And I think many of those folks probably moved away, gone somewhere else.
Possibly.
Gone to college, whatever. And I just don't think there's a lot there that I mean, I know you may differ in this, but I just think there's a lot of names on there that have no intention of voting on Tuesday.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, we want those people to be active. I mean, time will tell. You know, obviously the presidential election is tons of interest. Everyone, you know, wants to have their voice heard. Right. But I've been saying things start locally. Change starts locally. So, you know, once you get out there and vote for the people that you feel represent you best in your communities, you know, you'll see changes start to happen and things will trickle out. So, I mean, that's the key, getting people that are so interested on a national level to also be interested locally and feel like they're making a change that way as well.
You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. I'm Jim Phillips. My guest is Election Commissioner Manny DeBrito in the city of New Bedford. Why do you think there appears to be apathy about elections these days? Now, the voter turnout, I want to speak a little bit about that because, again, it relates to my overinflated voter list. The voter turnout numbers look bad because there are a lot of names on the list that have no intention of voting, don't live here anymore, whatever. And so when you have a 9% turnout, it's really probably not 9%, maybe a little bit higher than that.
And again, and that 9% is actually up from our last local election, from 7% to 9%. And the candidates drive a lot of that interest. We have some contested races in a couple of wards and the mayor, and so that will inflate those numbers. We'll have more people come out and vote. So it's really on the candidates really to spark that interest. Like you said, Barack Obama, people are interested in those characters, those individuals, as well as their politics. So I think that you'll see a big jump going into the municipal, even more so than the last local, because there is that interest in the people that are taking place.
I expect a jump. I expect maybe at least double, maybe more, but that number will still be low. It'll be under 25%.
The last local election, it jumped up to 22.5. So, and that was coming from 7%. So I'm shooting for 30%. Anywhere between 25 to 30 is, realistically where I see it jumping to. I'd love for it to be more than that. But again, it's on people, taking their interest in the nation's politics and kind of copying that, replicating that locally.
So, but in general, now I don't want to speak about 2008 was a very special year.
Yes,
we don't have that this year, obviously. But I would ask you that in general there appears to be just a lot of apathy about local elections. It's almost like people don't believe government works for them, or they've given up, or
and
all of that.
You see the interest. We're all on Facebook. You see people, commenting and people having an opinion on everything. So turning that opinion into action is really where it's at. If you're a candidate and you can figure out that equation, that problem, you're going to do very well, because it's getting people to act on those feelings, on those emotions. So that, I think, is really where it lies at increasing these numbers.
Mr. DeBrito, have you seen any substantial interest in this year's ballot question about extending the mayor's term from 2 to 4 years? I know there's a community group that's working in favor of the 4-year term, but I don't really hear a lot about it.
We do occasionally get questions on it. People want to know, is there anything underlying within the question? If there's any terminology that it's pretty straightforward. It's 2-year or 4-year, for or against. That's basically what it is. And that vote, whatever happens, say if it was a yes, that wouldn't take place until 2019. So people need to understand that it's not, the mayor's race this year will be impacted. It's down the road a little bit.
And where will people find that question on the ballot?
It's the last part of the ballot, and again, it's very straightforward. There's no dialogue there. It's are you for or against the 4-year term for the mayor? It's pretty straightforward. It took a lot of research on my part and learning how that works and how we phrase that information and give people enough information, but it's pretty straightforward.
And you have to turn the ballot over to find the question?
No, everything is on the front page. Everything is there, just a one-page ballot.
This gets back to my apathy question earlier. Should we be voting on weekends instead of weekdays?
People will pose all kind of different ideas to me, and I really do want to empower the community to come up with ideas, because we're looking for ways to improve the voter turnout. That's one idea I know that's been floated around, not only just locally, but there's people talking about that 2-day voting, or making voting day a holiday to get people to come out and vote. There's all these ideas that get thrown around, and I mean, who knows what will work? But it's the fact that people are actually looking into this and seeing how important it is for people to get out and vote. Some of those things do kind of make sense.
Yeah. You've heard it. You've heard what I've heard. I mean, people sometimes say, "Gee, it doesn't make a difference," Tweedledum or Tweedledee. It's not going to make a big difference in my life. I've still got to go to work. I still got to pay my bills. There's always going to be a tax bill and all of those kinds of things. I generally think that people just they're not inspired. They don't feel a lot of hope, and that's kind of sad.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. Again, it's just it's part of our civic duty. You know what I mean? It's part of the privilege of being an American citizen is getting out there and vote. That's your part, and we all should be doing our part. And just that again. If enough of those people that think they're not making a difference actually go out and vote, I mean, the numbers will add up. So, I mean, we have to take an interest. We have to get out there and vote. Whether we're inspired to or not, I mean, just the fact of voting, the act of voting should be inspiration enough.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder why people don't feel that way, but I think it's because they just don't feel it really impacts their life, and I think there's a lot of ways that they can be reminded how it impacts their life. The candidates have to do it, though.
Exactly.
The candidates have to speak out, spell out the issues, spell out their positions, tell the voters why their position might help them the best, and go from there. I often think that candidates, they do a great job of asking for votes. They don't often give a whole lot of information on why you should vote for me, why you should vote for that person. So the election is Tuesday. The hours again, sir?
They're 7 in the morning till 8 p.m. Polls will be open. And right now we're doing absentee ballots, and you'll be able to actually go in on this Saturday until noon for absentee, and also Monday until noon in the City Hall and Elections Office as well.
Can you walk in and ask for an absentee ballot, or do you have to?
You can walk in and ask for absentee ballot, yes.
Okay, very good. Are your poll workers all set? These are among the most loyal employees for the city of New Bedford. They're part-time, but they show up every election.
I had the privilege to train the poll workers, and the first training was about 100 people, 100 poll workers, and they know their stuff, and they held me to task, because they've been doing it for so long. Most of them could probably do my job. They're very, very, like you said, committed, and they're all about the city, and it's we can't do it without them. So, I commend them for their service and for their help. Like you said, it's a part-time. It's not, much money or anything.
You're not going to get rich.
No, exactly. But,
stay up late, though.
They will. But they're committed to it. And again, that's part of that activism. They're out there. They're doing something for their community. So, again, I commend them on all their help.
So, are you predicting there's going to be a 30% turnout?
All right, so let's. Well, I'll predict 25. I'll predict 25. Like I said, anywhere between 25 and 30. I'm hoping for 30 or more. I'm gonna take all the credit for that. No, I like the fact that I'm seeing with my new position that people are questioning. They do have, valid concerns, and they are talking about it. And now I'm brought into these conversations. So, I see the fact that people do care. And again, it's making those people actually act on that. And that's the challenge. And that we'll look at some things going forward to hopefully, help that process along. There's, again, these first elections, I really want to come in and just make sure everything runs smoothly. And then we'll see, going forward, how we can, help that process along or, inspire people to come out.
You've articulated this in our conversation here today, but why should people take the time to vote on Tuesday? You're the election commissioner. You're in charge of this process. Why should people take a few minutes out of their day to do this?
This is our city. This is, where we're raising our children, where our parents, raised us, where our parents are going to retire, a lot of them. We're sending our kids to the schools, and, it's really important again, to back the candidates that you feel represent you and what you want for your kids, for your family, for your city. And I think, one blessing that we do have in the city is there are a lot of people that are running that care, and they truly care about the city, truly care about the people. So we're blessed in that way, that, there's people that, are running for office that, want to see change, want to make a difference, want to make an impact on the city. So I think we're in a unique position that we have those individuals and, that have the love for the city and the citizens of the city.
So it's important for folks to get out and vote on Tuesday. The polls open at 7. They close at 8. Plenty of time. Hope for good weather, sure, so we don't have any weather excuses. And folks should get out and vote. Please vote because, as Mr. DeBrito says, it's our community. It's our community, and people should make their feelings known. Mr. DeBrito, good luck on Tuesday. We're hoping, as we said, for good weather and smooth sailing for you and your staff.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thanks for having me again.